Hello, everybody. Ori Spado, the Accidental Gangster here. I'm here in Brentwood, California. It's Studio Place, the best place to do podcasts in Los Angeles. If you would like to do a podcast, contact me. I'll give you the information. The owner, Andy, who's a dear friend of mine here. Okay, folks, last week I ended with Johnny Franceses, Sonny's son, where I was accused of selling him drugs. Quite to the contrary of that, folks. What happened was Michael brought Johnny out to Los Angeles. Now in New York, I don't know how many, Michael really, sincerely, was trying to, he had his brother in sober living houses and rehabs and so forth back in New York to do no good. But, you know, sometimes Johnny be good. Michael brought him out, got him a nice apartment in Brentwood. Johnny starts calling me, needs $40, needs $50, and initially I gave it to him. It's not like somebody called me up and said, Johnny's a druggie. I didn't know. I had to find out on my own. And what Johnny was doing when he had the apartment that Michael got for him in Brentwood, where I'm at right now, I could walk to that apartment. I still remember where it was. Johnny was sharp. He would call taxis. Yeah, this was in the day when you had taxis. This taxi would pick him up in Brentwood. Brentwood is an exclusive area in Los Angeles. And Johnny would have him drive him to MacArthur Park. When they got to MacArthur Park, Johnny would go, oh, I left my money in my wallet at home. Do me a favor, wait for me, I'll be right back, and I'll give you $100 when you take me home. So, of course, the cabbie waits for him, and he thinks he can get $100. Johnny runs into MacArthur Park. He scores his drugs, has the cabbie drive him back. He says, I'll be right out. And he would go into his apartment, lock the doors. That was it. He did that so many times to so many cab drivers. It was unbelievable. Then he would call hookers and tell them that his Uncle Ori was going to pay him. And I'm getting calls from these hookers. In the meantime, I'm living on Beverly Glen at the time with a girlfriend that was also an addict and an alcoholic. So I'm ready to kill myself. I was going crazy between the two of them. And one night, I'm driving home. Tina's trying to get a hold of me. On the corner of Beverly Glen and Santa Monica Beverly Glen and Santa Monica Boulevard was a grocery store called Beverly Glen Market. And it had a bank of telephones. One night, all these cabbies, they were circled. Johnny was on the phone with his mother, and one cabbie saw him, called the other cabbie, and there were about 4 or 5 cab drivers. They had them blocked in, honest to God. I got out of my car. I went over. I talked to the cab driver, got Johnny, got everybody, had them come to my apartment on Beverly Glen. And I made a deal with all the cab drivers, and I paid them. In the meantime, Tina's on the phone with me. Sonny was in prison, of course. Tina's got Sonny on the phone, and they do a 3-way and got me on the phone. And, you know, Sonny said, hey, buddy, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. I never got 5 cents back. Sonny don't pay nobody back. Okay, I knew I never see another nickel. I bailed Johnny out of jail. Not once, twice. I pay for it. I was really sincerely trying to help Johnny. You have no idea how many drug dealers that I spoke to, that I went and I grabbed them. And I looked at them and I told them, look at my face. Because the next time you sell Johnny drugs, this will be the last face that you will see on earth. Folks, there's thousands of drug dealers. Johnny could score if you dropped him in the middle of the desert. Johnny or any other druggie, they're going to score. They'll find it and find it. It's unreal. But they do. Went through a lot of nightmares. When Sonny got out of prison, I went back, Johnny went back. I'm in my hotel, Sonny and Johnny. He comes to my hotel. I had a suite. Johnny is drinking all my booze in those bars that they got in the hotel. Sonny grabs me and we went in my bedroom. And Sonny said, here's the words, folks, because I remember everything in my life. He says, what are we going to do about Johnny? I said, what do you mean, what are we going to do about Johnny? I said, he is your son. I said, I've been taking care of him in Los Angeles for you. And I know Frankie Camp was taking care of him in New York for you. Now you're out of prison. You got to take care of him. Sonny didn't know what the freak to do. But look, when you got somebody that's a druggie, you don't know what to do. All right? You can't help them until they want help themselves. So Johnny was back and forth between Los Angeles and New York. And finally, Michael gets out of prison. And when Michael got out of prison, you hear him tell his prison story. Whether you believe it or not, that's entirely up to you. But back in those days, he went to his brother and asked his brother if I would meet with him. Remind you, folks, this is the Franzese family. This is Michael. Johnny asked me if I would meet with his brother Michael. I knew that Michael had proffered. I knew all the people that Michael had proffered against at that time because I was very close friends with Jerry Zimmerman. Now you hear Michael on YouTube tell stories about Jerry Zimmerman. I'll tell you other story about Jerry Zimmerman. I'll tell you a story about the box that Jerry kept in his car. All right? With all information on Michael. I'll tell you what happened when Jerry went to visit Michael in the visiting room at Terminal Island. Okay? But now, I told him, have Michael meet me at the Rangoon Racket Club. It was a place in Beverly Hills that I used to hang out at back in those days. Michael came, I took him in the alley in the back. I said, Michael, what can I do for you? Michael's words. I'm sure he'll deny it. Ori, you know everything that's going on in Los Angeles. If any strangers come into town, would you call me? And I told Michael, I said, Michael, I said, if your father asked me to do it, of course I would do it. Oh, I was just there. I saw my father last week. I said, well, that's good. He told me he had visited his father. When Sonny was in prison, he was calling me an average of twice a week from prison. Sonny happened to call me the next day. And I told him, I said, Sonny, I said, Michael asked me, I told him exactly. Sonny, and I said, he said he saw you last week. He fucking wasn't here. He bullshitting you, he said. He did not visit me. He said, I verily see him. And he said, don't do a goddamn thing, he says. If you know anything, don't do nothing. So I did nothing. Those were Sonny's words to me. Okay? Believe me, don't believe me, I really don't care. I know what happened because I was there. You look at folks, I'm a little bit different. These mob historians who go read court documents and old newspapers and tell you stuff, okay? When I tell you something, it means I was in the room, okay? And you got to understand something. Before Sonny Franzese, I had known Frank Costello, Russell Bufalino, and Carlo Marcello, and Meyer Lansky. So I was not new to the life, and I already knew about the life. So I want you to understand that part, and if you don't believe me, it's in my book, and verbatim. I know, once again, I'm going to say, people who watch podcasts, I found out you guys don't read books. The biggest buyers of my book happen to be women, and they love it. So once again, folks, I want to thank you. Next week, I'm going to be telling you more stories of my life with Sonny Franzese and the Franzese family. Thank you.